Forasmuch as many have taken in hand to set forth in order a declaration of those things which are most surely believed among us, even as they delivered them unto us, which from the beginning were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word, it seemed good to me also, having had perfect understanding of all things from the very first, to write unto thee in order, most excellent Theophilus.
Who is Theophilus? The Gospel of Luke is a compilation of accounts gathered through validation from writings and eyewitness accounts. It starts off by acknowledging this. Luke wrote the Gospel of Luke and Acts, and both are addressed to someone named Theophilus. The identity of this Theophilus is a mystery throughout history. Theophilus means loved by God or lover of God. This is why many believe that Theophilus is a nickname or code name for some mystery person. Considering Christians in this era were being hunted and documents were being destroyed as to stomp out Christianity, a name like Theophilus on a document would bring hesitation to those wishing to destroy it if recovered by the Romans or Jews. This may have been a motive for the name, but who is this mystery person nicknamed Theophilus by Luke, who followed Paul around? It's interesting to note that the PHI in Theophilus is actually the golden ratio. The ancient Greeks discovered phi, or the golden ratio, in mathematics that strangely appears all throughout nature as a mathematical constant in the universe. Somewhere between 4 BCE and 4 AD, the pronunciation of this character changed. What we today call phi, PHI, was originally pronounced P with a P sound. So during the 1st century when Luke wrote this, it was likely pronounced Theophilus. Theo alone means God or godly. So what does Paulus mean? Not surprisingly, Paulus is the name of Paul, who Luke served his entire ministry. Strangely, Paul, or Paulus, instead of the golden ratio, uses the other famous great mathematical constant, pi, which represents a circle. These names share identical endings because they are pronounced the same, though the starts vary with phi and pi, yet both were pronounced with a letter P sound in the 1st century. So when Luke wrote the Gospel of Luke and addressed Theophilus, it's strikingly similar to the pronunciation of Paul, Paulus, yet may have been spelled differently as to represent a clever code name or nickname, as many speculated through history, which, if we consider this, means godly Paul or loved by God, which Paul also addresses others as lovers of God or loved by God or beloved of God. If Theophilus was actually a code for Paulus in order to protect the document, this is actually quite brilliant from a linguistic and mathematical perspective. So if scholars and historians know that Luke was Paul's most loyal and trusted friend and helper in spreading the gospel in Paul's ministry, and Luke wrote Gospels and Acts, and the phi was actually pronounced with a P sound, and Theophilus and Paulus are extraordinarily similar in pronunciation and have a dual Christian meaning and interchange the two most well-known mathematical characters coined by the Greek. Well, they acknowledge that Theophilus or Theophilus was in fact a code name for some mystery person. Why have they never connected the dots that Theophilus is in fact Paulus, Luke's mentor? Simply because they refuse to place the gospel in Paul's hands. Because the implications of this would change everything they claim to know about the ancient history of the biblical manuscripts. But if the evidence does suggest that Paul did in fact have a copy of the gospel during his ministry that he taught from, would it not be reasonable to assume that the Gospel of Luke was written for Paul to teach from? So does the evidence suggest that Paul had the Gospels in his possession during his ministry? Yes.